The Railjet brand is well known across Europe for its brilliant connectivity and unparalleled levels of service, but even reputable brands like this need to keep on their toes and continuously develop, which is what the brand new Railjet sets aim to achieve. I'll be taking you inside this brand new train on one of Europe's most scenic rail journeys from Bologna to Munich, showing you its incredible features and innovative design, as well as some areas where that may not be the case. Now sit back and enjoy the ride. The train begins its journey very early in the morning at Bologna Centrale, the main railway station serving the largest city and capital of the Emilia-Romagna region of Italy. This station's origins date back to 1864, though it has seen several newer additions in recent years. The most notable we'll see shortly. The main concourse is small in size compared to the rest of the station, but it does the job and boasts a reasonable amount of shops and eateries if you don't fancy the dining car food which is on offer with the Railjet service. Here you'll also find ticket offices and machines for state-owned operator Trenitalia, as well as open access high-speed operator Italo. Trenitalia provides regional and intercity services across Italy from Bologna, as well as top-ranked Frecciarossa high-speed services, of which Italo is their main competitor. These principally use the 4 Alta Velocità or high-speed platforms, which became operational in 2008, and I'm afraid to say this layout is not executed well in practice. The station is an absolute maze, and trains often make last-minute swaps between the high-speed and main platforms, making Bologna Centrale one of Europe's most confusing stations to navigate. This also makes the station one of Italy's busiest, seeing around 800 train movements a day while serving around 58 million passengers a year. Back on the main concourse, we can see that our Railjet train is shown as train number EC88 to München Hbf, departing from platform 10. Accessing platform 10 requires us to use the station subway, which is also step-free via platform lifts for those with reduced mobility. And here comes our brand new Railjet train fresh from the sidings. Pulling the train is a Siemens Taurus locomotive, the workhorse of Austria's OBB, built in the late 2000s, whilst the new Railjet sets are a brand new fixed 9-coach formation, having entered service on the Munich to Verona to Bologna route a few weeks prior to this recording, though the trains made their initial debut on domestic routes in Austria in late March. These sets were also manufactured by Siemens, with OBB having placed an order for 27 sets, capable of seating 532 passengers across 3 classes of travel. The driving trailers of the new Railjet are built to resemble the Vectron locomotives, the successor of the Siemens Eurosprinter family which the Taurus is a part of. These trains also have the same basic design as the Nightjet Next Generation sets, which I covered on their inaugural journey back in December 2023. The legacy Railjets have been running for both Austria's OBB and the Czech Republic's České dráhy since 2008 and form OBB's premier service. The new Railjet sets will not only be supplementing these, but will also replace OBB's older intercity coaches from the 1990s, currently running the EuroCity services from Italy to Austria and Germany, which will be gradually converted to Railjet services in due course. The sets are capable of 230 km per hour and licensed to operate in Austria, Italy, Switzerland and Germany, all of which they will be serving as the sets are introduced. Our train will be covering all of these countries bar Switzerland on this journey, so let's get on board and check it out, shall we? All coaches bar the frontmost and rearmost ones have full level boarding, though I'll delve into this further later in the video as I do have a lot more to say about it. For now, here's first class on board the new Railjet, which is in a 2x1 configuration and looks absolutely fantastic. What do you think of it? Let me know below. My seat is seat 71, which is a forward-facing solo seat. Today's route to Munich will see us travel to Verona, before reversing to traverse the stunning Brenner Pass into Austria, where we call at Innsbruck. We then progress through Austria towards Germany, where we eventually arrive into the Bavarian capital at around 2:30 Central European Time, taking just under 7 hours to cover the 693km distance today. Our departure from Bologna is on time at 7:45 AM Central European Time.
Verona. Treno per München Hauptbahnhof. Prossima fermata, Verona.
When leaving Bologna Centrale, it's best to be on the left-hand side, as seen here. The massive interlocking signal cabins are truly a sight to behold and an iconic symbol of the Italian railways. Afterwards, it's straight on the main line to leave Bologna, reaching speeds of 200km per hour as we do so, the highest speeds reached on Italian conventional lines. The ride quality of these trains is incredibly smooth, and the weather seems to be brightening up too as the morning goes on. Meanwhile, the Taurus locomotive is powering away at the front to take the train onto Verona without breaking a sweat. Okay, let's move on to the interior. The seat comfort in first class is a lot better than I was expecting. Though slightly less padded than you would find on the old Railjet, it does the job, with extra padding on the winged headrests too, perfect for relaxing. While solo seats don't include foldable armrests, you'll instead find these push down ones in the middle of the duo seats, but on the right armrest you'll find the button to control the manual recline, which you hold down and slide yourself forwards and backwards to operate, though I also found a lever at the base of the seat which works the same way if you prefer. This is useful for adjusting the legroom, which is absolutely fantastic. The footrests are also adequately positioned thanks to the generous seat pitch, which in most instances I've seen this not being the case. One party trick the seat has is not only a larger tray table for storing laptops or other large items, but also a smaller table just above for smaller items such as mobile devices. Here you'll find a USB Type-A socket and wireless charging point, though if you prefer, there is a 220V power and USB Type-A socket just below the seat as well. Coat hooks on the solo seats can be operated by pressing this button here, though you will also find traditional window ones too. At the table seats, you'll get extendable sections which are angled in a way to pull or push them away without much hassle, a feature I quite like. Probably my one pet peeve with the seat though is the lack of a personal bin, OBB instead opting for a rubbish bag stored in the seat pocket. Electronic reservation displays like the old Railjet are present, and reading lights are instead found just below the window side headrest section. And finally, a draw down blind partially reducing what would normally be, harsh sunlight can be found. Overall, this is a solid design and includes some brilliant features, but I would call it more evolution than revolution at this stage. Our new generation Railjet is now preparing to enter Verona, where there's a 20-minute layover to change directions, which provides a good opportunity to get off for some fresh air. And if you're rightly worried about your luggage security, then this train has you covered. Whilst conventional overhead luggage racks do the job, they don't provide the levels of security OBB's new NFC locks do, which are found on the larger racks present throughout the train. This works in two different ways, the first of which is using your contactless bank card on the lock like a key, as depicted in the instructions and demonstrated by me here. My preferred and recommended method, however, is to set up a passcode on the lock like so. Okay, we're ready to go. The main reason I wanted to get out for a bit at Verona can be seen as we arrive. We actually changed locomotives here, but I'll explain why shortly. For now, we arrive into Verona Porta Nova, the main station serving the city which is famous for being the setting of Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet. The locomotive change is a fascinating operation to watch. The Taurus from Bologna gets detached from the set and then makes a loop around the station to return to the sidings. When the other Taurus locomotive comes, it will be attached to the front of the driving trailer. Despite the sets themselves being authorised for passenger use, they strangely aren't yet authorised for push-pull operation using the driving trailer, which is also the case for the new Nightjet sets, meaning the blunt carriage end on the other side of the train is exposed all the way until Munich. The other tourist we saw earlier then comes in from the sidings and couples to the driving trailer to pull it the rest of the way to Germany. We eventually leave Verona with a 10-minute delay owing to issues with the train's electronics during the locomotive change. We also pass a second new generation Railjet in the sidings, which will also head to Munich later, though we quite literally see the back of the city as we prepare to head through the Alps up the Brenner Pass towards Austria. At this point in the journey, I was getting a bit hungry, so I decided it was time for breakfast. In first class, you can have your meal delivered to your seat using the paper menu conveniently placed next to the window, and by scanning the QR code to bring you to the website of OBB's catering provider Dons. As was the case with the Legacy Railjet, this wasn't able to work, but not to worry. There's a host service in first class, and I was able to get my food delivered to my seat and enjoy the stunning views of the Italian Alps as we make our way along the Brenner Railway. This stunning Alpine route is one of the main links between Italy and Austria, and was open in numerous stages. The section we're on now to Bolzano was completed in 1859, whilst the later section towards Brenner and Innsbruck was finally opened 8 years later in 1867. The scenery here is definitely something to just sit down and take in, including the many castles and forts such as the Castle of Avio here, dating back as far as the 12th century. Perhaps the biggest disappointment with this new train is the business class, which is the highest class of travel on board Railjet services and is available for a supplement of usually €15 on top of the first class fare. As you can see with the new Railjet, they merely just stuck 4 of the first class seats in a compartment and not much else. On the Legacy Railjet, the upgrade can be justified as I would argue the seats are a lot more premium, especially comfort wise. I honestly can't really recommend this on the new Railjet unless you're travelling in a group, as you otherwise wouldn't benefit much from it, and it certainly doesn't give you the privacy you would expect if you're on your own. I mean, yes, you get the same mood lighting as you do on the new Nightjet as seen here, but does that really justify the price? I don't think so. Before long, we arrive into Bolzano, the largest city and capital of the former Austrian and now Italian province of South Tyrol, which was broken off from Austria and became part of Italy after World War I, though you will still find German as one of the official languages here, alongside the obvious Italian and Ladin. The views on this route really are spectacular, and taking the train definitely allows you to appreciate them better as opposed to driving over the Brenner Pass, though with the weather worsening, this also highlights one small problem with the windows. The design choice by Siemens allows for better phone reception, but at the same time does slightly spoil the view when seeing these hexagonal shapes in between. Let me know in the comments which you prefer. We then arrive into Fortezza, which after leaving highlights the construction of the 40-mile Brenner base tunnel, which when opened by 2032 earliest will allow for journeys between Italy and Austria along the Brenner Railway to be a lot faster, though this does come at the cost of missing much of the scenic alpine views which we can see now. Standard class on board the new Railjet is almost identical to the new Nightjet. Most seats are in a 2x2 configuration with both airline and table seats, though you can also find compartments which fit a maximum of 6 people and are similar to the business class offering, which makes the latter all the more not worth the upgrade. The particular one I looked at was a family zone, which OBB offers to families to keep their children entertained during the journey, which I think is great. Another new welcome addition to the trains is vending machines, which if you only want snacks is a great way to avoid waiting in a very busy dining car, especially as they're throughout standard class. Ample bike storage can also be found on the train, and as can be seen, it was very well used by people traversing this alpine route. But moving on to the wheelchair accessible area is where the train gets a bit bizarre. The selling point of the new Railjet is that it offers low floor level boarding in all but the first and last carriages of the train, but this is counteracted by the amount of stairs present throughout the train, which makes it rather difficult for those with reduced mobility to get around, which is a shame as accessibility has been well thought out on the whole, and this is a huge stopping point against this. I mean, surely they could have used ramps like Stadler do? It works very well on their trains. Before long, we arrive into Brenner, the Italian-Austrian border town and where the police border check controls are done. To do so, there's about a 15-minute wait here, so getting off to stretch your legs and realising that you're at the highest point of the OBB and Trenitalia rail networks is a pretty good idea. Upon leaving Brenner, the border crossing, which almost immediately happens after departure, can be spotted by the change in the overhead catenary, which is just around here. We are now officially in Austria and are now preparing to head down to Innsbruck, with some continued spectacular alpine scenery of course. Just parallel to us is the Brenner Pass, which carries road traffic between Austria and Italy, and highlights the tight mountain curves which this part of the route sees, allowing us to see the full 9-coach Railjet be pulled by the Taurus locomotive down the mountains to Innsbruck. It was getting close to lunchtime, so I opted to go and visit the dining car for some lunch, though by the time I visited it was very busy as you can see, so I sadly was unable to get a seat. I then instead placed my order at the bar and had it delivered to my seat by the attendant, as I did with breakfast earlier. As I don't eat pork and only pork schnitzel was served, I was able to swap for some chicken pieces instead, and I have to say the service on board is top notch, with the staff able to handle all of your requests. I personally think it's brilliant. The food was delicious, and having it with views like this makes it all the more better as we descend from the Brenner Railway and arrive into its northern terminus of Innsbruck, the capital of the Austrian Tyrol region and the 5th largest city in Austria as a whole. Innsbruck is an internationally renowned winter sports centre, having hosted the Winter Olympics twice and the first Winter Youth Olympics in 2012. The departure from Innsbruck allows us to take in the spectacular view of the Austrian Alps we just traversed from the rear of the train, the tracks disappearing behind us as we now draw in closer towards Germany. We are now on the Lower Inn Valley Railway, which is the first and only high-speed track we'll be using today. The section we're on now is designed for 220 km per hour, which we're close to reaching now, and is a mere 10 km per hour slower than the top speed of our new Railjet train. Now here's something I wasn't expecting to see: gendered toilets. I did see these on the Westbahn Stadler KISS units too, who are OBB's main competitor, so maybe they're taking inspiration from them? Either way, I don't think it's such a great idea, especially as both are exactly the same with no real differences. Everything was clean and functional, and there are plenty of amenities too, with it being large enough for a baby changing facility, a coat hook and an electrical shaver socket. Despite the Austrian Railjet sighting here, we've actually now crossed the border into Germany, and having called at Rosenheim, it's the home stretch now towards Munich as we pass RJ87, heading down the route we just came towards Bologna. We, however, make one last call at München Ost as we enter the city of Munich, meaning its journey's end for the brand new Railjet. The new Railjets are definitely a step change compared to the intercity coaches they're directly replacing, but I think calling them a revolution is a bit of a stretch. There are certainly some interesting and innovative features compared to the legacy Railjets, but things such as the business class downgrade and poor execution of the level boarding concept are what let this train down. Nevertheless, it is a solid product and definitely makes a long journey like this a lot more enjoyable. As for what I paid, I was travelling using my first class Interrail pass, so I paid €3 to reserve my seat as I expected the train to be busy. However, not advertised on the EU Rail Planner and the OBB website is the €15 supplement you have to pay, as this train is classed as a high-speed train in Italy, all of which require compulsory reservations, so this is something to bear in mind, though I found this out the hard way, meaning I paid €18 in total for my reservation, but this is still a lot cheaper than the full fares of €113.20 in standard class and €206.40 in first class, both of which are booked a month in advance. Having been delayed earlier in Italy, the train against all odds arrives on time into München Hauptbahnhof. Now it's over to you. What did you think of the brand new Railjet? Have you had a chance to try it yet, and what do you think of the features on board? Let me know in the comments below. I do hope you've enjoyed this video, and don't forget to like and share it to aid the channel's growth, and also don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications for more content such as this weekly. Right, I've got a bit of time here in Munich before I head off to my next destination. Thanks so much for coming with me on this trip, and I look forward to bringing you with me on my next one.